Hello and welcome to the Retro Odyssey podcast. My name is Steven, and I'm here as always with Matt. How's it going, Matt?
Not bad, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right. It's, really, really busy here.
Yeah. Are you still working nights?
Yeah, still working nights, and, with my wife being pregnant, we've got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But yeah, we're, moving along. I'm also back in school trying to finish my degree. So, yeah, it's been very, very busy.
Yeah, that's good. But all of those things, good things are going to come out of them. So,
Yeah, some sooner than others.
yeah.
But how have things been over there for you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Just working. You know how it is. Same old stuff. I've been spending way too much money on H.P. Lovecraft books, actually. I have like 3 different editions of the exact same stories, pretty much. But they're all presented in different ways. So I kind of felt like I wanted them all. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of games, I actually, to the surprise of absolutely no one, I'm back on a Metroid kick again.
Mm.
Um, the one I've spent the most time on is Metroid Prime, which I'll get into that when we cover the news. But then I started recording Samus Returns and Metroid Dread. And in fact, just yesterday, I managed to pull off the sequence break on Metroid Dread, where you can basically instant kill Kraid at a certain point. You just have to get a couple of things early, and I managed to pull that off.
So I guess that's like a speedrun strat then.
Speed running and also just so the extra work it took me to get to that point would it would have been for someone who's really good at the game, it probably would have been faster to just fight him. But it's super satisfying to just halfway through a boss fight, tell him to piss off. But it's basically a thing where you get the grapple beam and the bombs early, and then during the second phase of the fight, there's a little bomb launcher in the arena that's of course hidden by a block. That you use that, you get shot into them and can just drop bombs repeatedly to end the fight, immediately and not have to do the second phase. And it really just requires one tricky set of jumps, but it's technically speed running, but also the way I see it is it's making the fight easier, especially if you're playing on hard mode. Anything to make that fight easier, I think, is worth it. Because I mean, those boss fights are they're all manageable, but they can be tough. So something like that is kind of cool to pull off.
I mean, I've had my ass kicked many times by Metroid bosses on several of the games. So yeah, I know it's a bit. They really do jump up the difficulty on boss fights in those series sometimes.
Yeah, and it's I mean, and again, Dread is just so well done. Like, it feels so good to play that taking time to do a cool thing is doesn't bother me at all, because it's more time just running around and enjoying the mechanics for me. But yeah, that's mostly been it. I think I've played a little bit of Fire Emblem here and there, but I haven't really been able to stick with it much. I also haven't, as you might imagine, haven't had nearly as much time for games. So what have you been playing this month aside from the obvious?
Pretty much just the obvious.
Oh, okay.
I've just been playing Guild Wars 2, just constantly, pretty much. Really, really, really love that game. I finished all the story content. Actually, just got a new story content patch last week, and yeah, so I've been playing that. There's just so much to do in that game. There's like a massive amount of achievements, and it's got the best open world content I've ever seen in an MMO. And I've played quite a lot of them, but no one does open world content as good as Guild Wars 2. I don't think a lot of MMOs seem to kind of like have like a niche that they're really good in. Like Final Fantasy 14's got the story. I would say the combat's probably better in that as well. World of Warcraft has got really solid PvP, which like sets it above the others. But Guild Wars 2 open world content with like a living dynamic world is a hell of a lot of fun. And it's the base game is free to play. There's no subcost. I have put in a lot of money into the game to be fair, because there is stuff there for you to spend money on if you want to. But a lot of microtransactions, but nothing that's super egregious. More quality of life stuff, really, and cosmetic stuff.
Okay.
Like I just bought. You can like glide in the game when like jumping off ledges. Like can in Breath of the Wild, and I just bought a glider skin for about £3-4 yesterday, which instead of looking like a normal glider, it looks like spider legs with like webbing in between them.
Nice.
Which I thought was really cool. And it was like the equivalent of about £3. So I thought, yeah, I'm having that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I've also been playing at like a friend's suggestion who said it was really good. I've been playing No Rest for the Living, which is a Doom 2 mod, and it's really well done. It totally kicks your ass in places, but I'm just over halfway through it. There's like 9 levels, and I'm on level 5. It's included in the official releases. You can get it on. I think it first came out in the Doom 3 BFG edition, and since then it has been brought out like on the Steam version as well. You can load up Steam, and it's one of the official mods on that. I mean, it's not a Doom 3 mod, but Doom 3 BFG edition came with Doom 1 and 2 as well. And it was on there as a Doom 2 mod. Yeah, really, really, really well designed. And yeah, I've been enjoying that quite a lot. But those are pretty much the only things I've played.
Nice. Like we said, we've both been pretty busy and sinking a lot of time into specific things. So in terms of news, there's one big one that I want to talk about specifically because it also plays into what I played, and that is the Nintendo Direct that they had, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
It was February the 8th.
Okay,
and yeah, I know what you're about to say. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. We've finally got a date for it.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, so actually longer than I thought. But anyway, Nintendo announced and released Metroid Prime Remastered. Now this Direct was on a Wednesday. That Monday, so that would have been what, the 6th? I hit credits on Metroid Prime for the first time. So once again, this podcast, whether it's trying to or not, is influencing Nintendo to do stuff that we want. I mean, we got them to release Collection of Mana after I berated them. I know there's at least one other thing that we called them out for, and then they did. But yeah, so I've been playing the Metroid Prime trilogy on my Steam Deck using Prime Hack to make it more of a traditional well, I say traditional, more of a modern twin stick control scheme. Works really well. And then, like, literally days after I hit credits, they release the remaster. And it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, it completely took me by surprise. I mean, I didn't actually watch the direct, but after work one evening, I put on Twitch because I noticed one of my favorite Guild Wars 2 streamers was streaming Loranity, and she wasn't streaming Guild Wars 2. She was streaming Metroid Prime Remastered, and I just thought to myself, what the fuck? And yeah, there it was, Metroid Prime Remastered, and I didn't even know it was out, but there she was playing it because apparently Metroid Prime is like one of her favorite games. So she was like playing through that. It looked fantastic.
Oh yeah, it looks great.
And I ended up watching that for like a couple hours.
Yeah, so Metroid Prime Remastered. So it's one of those weird remasters because it's kind of like halfway to being a full-on remake. Because like most of the stuff is the same, but a lot of it has been rebuilt from the ground up. It's just been rebuilt the same way.
So kind of like the Crash Bandicoot games.
Yeah, kind
what
of.
they did with them, yeah.
Like it's not like they just upres some of the assets; they rebuilt a lot of those models. But yeah, the game looks great, and it now has 4 control schemes to choose from. There is the original GameCube. There is a version of the Wii's pointer controls that you can use with either the Joy-Cons or the gyro from a Pro controller. There is a hybrid, which basically plays like Splatoon, where you're doing big movements with the stick and small movements with the gyro. And then there's just full twin stick controls. And I've tried it out. They all work pretty well. Obviously, gyro is great for aiming. I think the hybrid is probably better than the full on Wii controls, but I also haven't tried it with a Joy-Con. But it's I'm glad they included all those different control schemes because the fan base is so divided on which Prime control scheme is better that now nobody has to pick. Like everyone could just use what they want. Me personally, I've used both, and I find, well, I mean, now I've used all 3, but I find it all works. Obviously, the twin stick feels a little better, but you know they're all functional, and the Wii remote is as has been established, super accurate as a pointer. It's another really cool thing that just like the timing was a little frustrating for me.
I will probably pick this up at some point. I mean, I do have the original on GameCube, which I did enjoy, but being able to play it with like twin stick controls, would be a lot better. I need to actually pick up a proper joypad for my Switch because I'm starting to get like a little bit of Joy-Con drift, and I really don't want to deal with that. So I might just get like an actual pad, and then I can just ignore it.
Right.
Because I'd be more comfortable playing with the pad anyway.
Right.
But I'll probably wait for a sale on that.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I have so many pairs of Joy-Cons just from how many times I've ended up buying them for different reasons, and I don't use Joy-Cons like at all. I've got like 3 or 4 different types of Pro controllers, and then my 8-bit Do and Retro Fighter controllers. So like I don't need any Joy-Cons, and I have more Joy-Cons than anyone I know.
I mean, they when they work properly, they are really decent. I mean, I played through like the entirety of Breath of the Wild and Mario. What was the Switch Mario game called? Odyssey.
Odyssey.
Yeah, I played through like the entirety of those with Joy-Cons, and that was it's a really good control scheme when you don't have the drift.
Right. I just like my hands are too big for Joy-Cons. My hands cramp very easily with the Joy-Cons. I mean, to the point that like even handheld, I got bigger controllers, and then now I've got a thing that's basically a solid piece that the Switch slots into, and that works a lot better for me because it fits my hands better. But yeah, this is a great remake of an already very good game, and I can say that now that I've beaten it. But yeah, there's a lot to like, and I'm glad they finally did it. I'm curious if we're going to get the others. I know Adam was speculating that maybe that they would do Metroid Prime 2 sometime during the summer, and then Prime 3 for holiday 23, and then come out with 4 next year.
Yeah, maybe.
It's one of those things. It's like they could. I don't know if they will.
Yeah, you can generally never predict what Nintendo's going to do.
Yeah,
but like also from that direct, like there was one other quite big thing that came from it, and that was the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games being added to the online service.
Yes,
which is it's higher than the online service that I have, so I don't have access to them. I don't have the
expansion.
The tier up which they're on.
Actually, you do have access to the Game Boy.
Oh, right. Just not the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Right, got you.
Yeah, I have the expansion because I mean we've got the family plan that there's enough of us on it that wanted the expansion that we pay for it, but yeah. So I've tried it out. It works just as well as the rest of the Switch Online stuff. It's nice to finally have Metroid 2 on something besides the 3DS.
Metroid Fusion as well.
Yeah. Well, I think Fusion is coming, or it just went up.
March 9th.
Yeah. So, but probably by the time this airs, it'll be out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know it was shown in like a panel of games during the direct. My only gripe with Metroid 2 on there is it seems like it's only the green screen filter. You can't play it with the black and white or any of the colorization, which is kind of a bummer. But I mean, if they're trying to emulate the original Game Boy as much as possible, then I guess. But I mean, even the 3DS version, you could switch between the black and white and the green.
And is that the same for? I mean, Link's Awakening DX is on there. Is that the same for that as well? Because there are a lot of like color exclusive stuff.
Well, so if it's Link's Awakening DX, I would imagine it's got to have the color. But I haven't tried that one. But if it's specifically the DX, I would imagine it's got to be the Game Boy Color version.
But looking at the game list, I mean, you do have like some fantastic stuff on there. I mean, top of the list is like Tetris, but there's no Super Mario Land 1. You've got 2, but no Super Mario Land 1, which is weird.
I don't know. They've done some kind of weird setups on this before. Like there's stuff that you would think would be there but isn't. I know, like especially if a particular game is more popular than its predecessor, you'll get that one. But yeah, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of games on there. It is still very cool to see it, and I'm hoping they continue to add stuff, and we get because the Game Boy has a lot of good stuff on it. The Game Boy Advance has even more stuff, and like the Game Boy Advance has really some of the some of the biggest games out there. Like they could put a lot of really good stuff on Switch Online through the Game Boy Advance. It's just a question of if they will.
I mean, there's stuff that you could buy digitally on the Wii U for Game Boy Advance that
Yeah,
you could. Why not just put that on there? Like Wario Land 4, for
yeah,
instance, which we covered in a previous episode. I bought that on Wii U.
yeah.
They could have just chucked this on there, but
Now I do so. I'm fairly certain Pokemon won't be on there because Pokemon never shows up on any of these.
you have the Pokemon trading card game coming for Game Boy.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. You know what? That's better than I was hoping for.
I mean, it looks like you probably won't get any of the mainline Pokemon games because I think if you were going to get any, you would have got at least one in the launch.
Yeah, like they would have launched with Red and Blue, and I mean the mainline games have never like the only time they've ever been on the eShop was on the 3DS where they put the first six on there specifically to transfer Pokemon into Bank. So I don't expect to see mainline Pokemon on there. We might get some of the smaller ones, and then obviously there's Metroid Fusion is coming. There's Metroid Zero Mission, which would be a good one to have on there. Of course, they could just save us all a lot of trouble and release a big Metroid 2D collection, but that's Let's see. So we're probably not going to get Advanced Wars since they're uh, got the new thing coming out.
Yeah.
We're probably also not going to get Castlevania because they have the Advanced Collection. So there's some stuff that I'm not expecting, but that still leaves tons and tons of stuff. I mean, if I don't think they'll do it, but they could incorporate Four Swords in some capacity, and actually make that reasonable to play for the first time. At least, well, reasonable to play with people for the first time, because they did release that single player version for the anniversary back in 2011, but it is a royal pain in the ass to try to play with people on the original cartridge.
Yeah, I mean, you can on the multiplayer games they've got on like N64 stuff like that. You can actually play online with people with them. So hopefully that is something that they could look into.
Yeah, and I mean, they may not bother at all with Four Swords because I mean, Link to the Past is already on SNES Online, so I don't know if they're gonna bother putting it on there, but they might. I don't know. Minish Cap is on there, which is great to see because Minish Cap's awesome.
Yeah, and Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages are coming.
That's good because again, that's something that you could play on the 3DS eShop, but they're it's pretty hard to find the Game Boy versions, and if you can find them, they're not for decent prices.
I mean, whilst I still think that Nintendo should open up an eShop for their old games on Switch, at least they are making them available through this subscription service.
Yeah, at least there's some way to play them. I agree with Adam's gripe about it that they need to, do more than the drip feed that they do. But I mean, at the end of the day, well, I would say at the end of the day, our complaining won't get us anywhere. But previous history has shown it kind of does.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm really excited about the Game Boy Online. I'm curious to see what else will go up there. I'm glad that the regular Game Boy side is Game Boy and Game Boy Color, rather than making it separate things, just
Yeah.
include it all together. I don't remember if there was anything else major from the Direct.
No, not really. I mean, I still haven't watched it.
Oh, I haven't
I
either.
just I just saw those saw those headlines, and I don't really have any more news either, to be honest. That's pretty much covered all the major stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been a whole lot going on. I mean, there's stuff going on, but not a lot is relevant to what we talk about.
I mean, just a brief mention, actually, kind of related. The Tetris movie got a trailer, and it actually looks pretty decent.
Oh, I didn't know about this.
Yeah, it looks pretty solid. It's got your dude from Kingsman, Taron Egerton,
Oh, okay.
playing like a guy who's traveling to Russia to try and get the rights to the game, and there's a whole lot of like shady shit going on. And I mean, obviously, it's not based on the game; it's based on the true story behind Nintendo's acquisition of the game.
Right.
But yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. It's coming to Apple TV this month.
Oh, okay. So I won't be able to watch it.
No, me neither. But I'm sure it'll be available on other services at some point. It's just currently just on Apple TV.
Right. I had actually forgotten that they were making a Tetris movie.
But yeah, check that trailer out. It looks decent.
Yeah. So if we don't have anything else, we can just move on to our topic.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so our topic this month is zombies. Just zombie games in general. The reason we had initially talked about doing it was for the Resident Evil 4 remake that's coming out, and we've already talked about Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, and when I suggested the topic, I had completely forgotten that Resident Evil 4 doesn't actually have any zombies in it. It's actually a parasite, but it's done now, so we're gonna have to go with it. But that is my bad. There aren't actually any zombies in Resident Evil 4, but we're doing zombie games, so
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, we've had more tenuous reasons for picks.
Yeah.
So the first game we're going to be talking about is Zombies Ate My Neighbors, which I played the Super Nintendo version, but there is was this one that was on Super Nintendo and Genesis?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. There is also a like a remastered version on Switch, I believe.
It's on all the major consoles.
It's on all of them. Okay.
Well, all of the ones for when it came out: PlayStation 4, Xbox One.
Okay.
That's kind of like a remake / remaster kind of thing, which I've not actually played, but I've looked at footage. It looks like exactly the same thing.
Yeah. I didn't feel like spending $30 when I already had access to the original. So, but yeah. So I had no history with this game. The most I knew of this was the title. And I mean, obviously, like I had heard the title "Zombies Ate My Neighbors" for many years. I just never knew what it was. Had you played this back in the day?
No. Again, it's a name that was familiar with me, but the game wasn't.
Okay. So I didn't dislike this. I'm usually very skeptical about zombie games just because I feel like zombies as a genre tend to be overdone. Which I mean, obviously I've been proven wrong in the past with things like when we played the first Resident Evil, but like I was actually pleasantly surprised by this one. The basics are you load into a map and there's a bunch of zombies running around and you have civilians to save, and once you get all the civilians, a door pops up for you to exit and go to the next level, and then you get points based on how many you save. It's a pretty familiar gameplay style. It's one I've actually played quite a bit of in a game for the NES called Alien Syndrome that I played a lot when I was younger.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've played quite a bit of that myself.
And that one was basically you run around, kill the aliens, and save the hostages, and then fight a boss, which was usually something weird and horrifying. But yeah, so I didn't get all the way through the game. I got a few levels in. I saw the enemy types changed from level to level. Like there was one where it was just dudes with chainsaws instead of zombies. How far in did you get?
I didn't get all the way because there's like 50 levels, and that was
Oh,
just way
jeez.
way too much. I got to about level 20ish, I think. At that point, it was starting to feel like kind of samey. Even though each level is kind of like unique and they're based on kind of like horror tropes or like old horror movies, and each level is themed. It usually has kind of like a punny kind of title as well,
Right.
and the enemies that you find in those levels are going to be tied to that. I mean, the game's called Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Like, zombies are only one of the enemy types. You have werewolves, vampires, chainsaw killers, mummies, little evil dolls, which I didn't know they were evil dolls. I thought just children were coming at me with knives, but they are actually evil dolls. Um, and the levels also have like unique weapons to them. Like you get different weapons all the time and different items that you can use. And I was I was quite surprised by that, but by the variety of weapons, and they all do kind of different things as well. Um, and there are items like obviously you've got like your health kits you can use if you want, but you've also got like these blow up clown dolls, which if you put them down, that will aggro the enemies, so they'll attack that instead of you. Um, so there's a lot of variety and there's a lot of freedom into how you actually defeat the enemies, get around the level, and save the neighbors, which I thought was quite good. Which it keeps it interesting long enough. I don't know if it would keep it interesting for 50 levels. It certainly didn't keep it interesting for me for 50 levels, but it's kind of
Right.
like a pick up and play kind of thing. And it does have like a password system as well, so you can like go to each level. It's it's a nice little challenge, and a lot of the levels have like a bit of a maze aspect to them as well. You've got to work out how to get to the neighbors. Sometimes you need keys for doors.
Right.
Um, it's a simple concept that's done in a variety of interesting ways that keep it fresh.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Like you said, I was impressed with the variety of the items, and a lot of it was pretty clear. Like there wasn't anything that I was really confused about how it worked. And like you said, the variety probably wears out eventually. This feels like one of those games that, when it was one of six games that you had, it would see a lot of play.
Oh yeah.
But, nowadays it is, it's not a game you're usually going to finish just because you've got a bunch of other stuff to play.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, like I say, it is something that's more suited to quicker play sessions.
Right.
Like jumping into a level or two, and doing that. I'm not sure if the remakes have different features added to them, like a time trial feature would be nice.
Hmm.
Where it would save your best time on each level, and that's something you could go back in and beat. I'm assuming it has like some kind of level select. I'm assuming it doesn't still use the password system.
Yeah, probably. Um, I would also imagine that the game is probably better with another person because it does have two-player,
Yeah,
I believe. So I would imagine playing with someone is probably more enjoyable. Which is pretty typical for these kind of things. But yeah, but it's definitely not a bad game. Like I can see the appeal.
yeah, definitely. It's colorful, it's cartoony, it's fun. It's not like dark at all. Although
Hmm.
although it was actually still censored. Like in the UK, they just changed the name to Zombies because they thought Zombies Ate My Neighbors was a bit much.
Right.
In fact, that was most of the EU. It looks like changed that, and they also changed the chainsaw enemies to lumberjacks wielding axes.
I mean, eh? Not like I get it. It's not like, it's not a terrible change.
But so this is a country that wouldn't let the turtles use nunchucks.
Yeah.
So you can see why they might want to take chainsaws out of stuff.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But it's I believe the re-releases are all under the original name, and the re-releases actually include the sequel Ghoul Patrol as well,
Oh, that's right. It was kind of a double thing.
which looks like kind of a similar kind of thing. It's not something that I really had the time to play, but it's certainly. I mean, it's kind of like the same kind of art style, and yeah, it looks like a similar kind of game. But the re-release does have like both of those games
Yeah, I mean that's nice.
for a game that's like 30 years old as of this year. It still holds up,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
and it is definitely something that I will go back to. And if we get a sale on the digital re-releases, then yeah, I might actually pick those up.
yeah, it's definitely something I want to try with a friend to see how it's different in co-op.
Yeah, I didn't watch any footage of anyone doing it in co-op. I did watch a speed run, but yeah, I didn't look at any co-op footage. Obviously, I just played it myself.
Right. I actually didn't even look anything up. I just played it. But yeah, no, I would say it's worth checking out. I don't know what kind of price it goes for.
I mean, it cost me the price of the electricity it would take for me to navigate to my SNES ROMs folder.
I mean, yes, there is that.
It looks pretty cheap, to
Yeah.
be honest.
The the remaster is $15. I thought it was 30.
The cartridges are a bit more. I'm looking at between 40 and 50 for a loose cart.
Okay.
So not great price, really. Boxed,
But
obviously, you're looking for a little bit more.
oh, I see what it is. The digital version of the Switch version is $15. And then the physical versions are like 30, 35. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Obviously, if someone's determined enough, they can get their hands on a playable version.
yeah. It'll set you back a bit, but not an extortionate amount.
Yeah. If you have the opportunity, it's certainly not a waste of an afternoon. like you said, I don't know if there's 50 levels worth of good game, but get a little bit out of it.
I'm sure all of the levels are solid, just you might not want to do all 50 in one go.
Yeah. Oh, definitely not. Because I mean, even going through like 15, it starts to feel a little samey after a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if that's what we have for that, I think we can go ahead and move on to our next game.
Okay.
Our next game is one that I'm betting everyone listening has heard of because I'm yet to meet anyone who hasn't heard of this game. Typing of the Dead. Um, I actually I actually really enjoyed this game. But I'm also someone who really enjoyed a lot of the old typing games back in the 90s. I just never had this one. Typing of the Dead is I, I don't want to say typical zombie game, but it's, a typical zombie premise, I guess. Outbreak happens, people respond, but the people that respond happen to be wearing these backpacks that have keyboards attached, and their response to being attacked is to type. Mechanically, the way it works is the enemies show up on screen, and you're given words or phrases to type, and when you type it successfully, the zombie is beaten, and you obviously you take damage if you miss. Pretty easy to understand, and it's more compelling than I would have expected.
Yeah, it does kind of drag you in because it's very frantic. Like you're not going to sit there being bored.
Yeah,
Um, you are like just frantically hammering on the keyboard to kind of like try and kill these zombies. It's worth pointing out as well. Obviously, this is a version of House of the Dead,
mm-hmm.
which was a light gun game. It's the same game, more or less, like the cutscenes, the monsters, the bosses, everything is the same. It's just been replaced by keyboards, and as you mentioned, all of the people in cutscenes, rather than holding guns, you've got a keyboard strapped to you, which is quite funny.
Yeah,
But the terrible, terrible voice acting that was in House of the Dead is still here, which is great because it's just cheesy and I love it. But yeah, through this game, I learned that I am not as good at touch typing as I thought I was. I do generally need to be looking down at my keyboard like quite for quite a lot of this, and there's strategy as well because some zombies will be closer than others, so you want to type in the word that's associated with those first.
mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're going to get hit. And there's some very, very quick, almost, well, kind of like quick time events where you've got to press like a single letter, but like to save someone
Right.
because the zombie's kind of like approaching them, and you have to be like super fast on that, or the people that the zombies are going after will die. The game doesn't let up at all. Like I say, it is very, very frantic and really full on.
The first time I played, I actually didn't realize what those single letter prompts were, because I missed all of them.
Oh, so did
So,
I. Well,
so I
I think I got one or two.
yeah, I didn't realize what they were at first, and as I got through, I was like, oh, that's what it's doing. Okay, yeah, those were a little tricky. it's really interesting because like I played a lot of like Mavis Beacon teaches typing and other stuff like that back in the day. So I and also from various keyboarding stuff for school and whatnot. I've actually like I'm pretty good at touch typing. Like I'm not I don't have like speed records or anything, but I'm better than average, I would say. So like do boot up the first level and I was just kind of tearing through it because it's short words and phrases for the first level. Um, but I noticed that as you go on, you get longer words and then multiple word phrases and proper names and stuff. It was I just really interesting.
I was the same. Just blasted straight through first level. I thought, okay, this is easy. Um, by the time I got to the last level, there were 6 levels. I couldn't defeat level 6. I got all the way up to level 6, but I couldn't defeat level 6 because stuff is coming at you so fast. You need to be so accurate with your typing. Because there are some bosses, some enemies where if you make a mistake, you will take damage.
Yes.
Like most of the time, like say for example in the first level, the screenshot I'm currently looking at says daffodil on it. You can type daffodil, and if you make a mistake in the middle of the word, it just won't count. So you'll just have to press the right letter instead. Later on in the game, like I said, there are sections where if you do make a mistake like that, it's going to hurt you. So you do have to be a lot more accurate as well as fast. And when the bosses come into it as well, the bosses tend to have their own mechanics. Like there is one boss where you can only type when its chest is open. Like it's got like this parasite thing on its chest, and it opens up, and you can only type during that. And there's another boss that kind of like swoops up in the air, and you've got to wait until it swoops down to type the word. And yeah, they're really really interesting like mechanics like that to switch it up, but the difficulty does definitely ramp up. You are going to need to be like a typing master to get through the entirety of the game.
Right. And that's like I didn't get all the way to those later levels. I did explore the tutorial section pretty thoroughly because I was curious about their actual teaching section, and it actually I think was pretty well done. But yeah, some of those bosses, um, and just like the speed at which a lot of even the regular enemies come at you, it can be pretty intense, especially if you're not if you're not used to typing that way. I can only imagine that it's even worse because I mean I'm used to typing quote unquote correctly, and it gets pretty tricky sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been typing since I was like a child, and I thought I was pretty decent until I played this game.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely if you want a challenge, there definitely is one to be had.
But because the levels are kind of like fairly short, because it is, like I said, the same game as House of the Dead. It's an arcade game. The levels are only a few minutes long.
Right.
There is kind of like a feeling of if you do lose, you can just go back in again, and you've not really wasted much time. So that cuts down on the frustration aspect. And there's a level select as well. You can go to whatever level you want. I think I tried level 6 like 4 times though, and that wasn't happening. You get full on like novel length things that you need to type out, and yeah, it gets properly properly difficult.
Yeah, and that's like, it's one of the things you really have to commit to. Like again, like so this came out. This actually was an arcade game, and then it came out for the Dreamcast, and I want to say Dreamcast, PC, and PS2.
Yes.
So, like again, if this was one of a couple of games that you had, yeah, you're gonna be able to put the time into this and develop those skills. But it's at this point, it's probably not something that someone's gonna focus on. For someone that has a lot of nostalgia for those old typing games, it was a lot of fun. Um, and also getting to see some of the cheesiness of House of the Dead.
For me, it's kind of like quite the opposite. I've got the nostalgia for House of the Dead,
Hmm.
which I have actually played in the arcade, and that actually got me interested in typing aspects. So now I'm interested in looking for other typing games.
I know Mavis Beacon was, the thing back in the day. I mean, I'm sure there's other ones you can find now.
Yeah, but do they have zombies in it?
Not to my knowledge. I do want to check out Mario Teaches Typing at some point because I've never
Hmm.
played that. But yeah, it's I actually do highly recommend this. And didn't you find this on Abandonware?
Yes, yes. It seems they've. I mean, whether or not it belongs on Bandware because it is a Sega game, um, and I'm sure they would take umbrage to calling it abandonware, but
Yeah,
that is where I found it because you can't buy this new anywhere. It's not on Steam. It's not on any of the
yeah.
consoles.
There is. I think there's a version. Typing of the Dead Overkill on Steam.
Oh yeah, the sequel is on there, yeah, but not the
Yeah,
original.
yeah. So you can get something similar on Steam, but yeah, you can't buy this one.
Which is a shame, really. You could. I'm sure the Dreamcast and PlayStation 2 versions are probably going for quite a lot because they did
Oh
come with
yeah,
a keyboard.
yeah,
Um, so that's going to bump the price up quite a bit. There was an interesting difference as well, just a very, very minor one, but one that's actually a nice touch. In the Dreamcast version, they actually have a Dreamcast strapped to their back, um, connected to the keyboard. And in the PlayStation 2 version, they have a PlayStation 2 strapped to their back with the
I
keyboard
didn't.
plugged.
I didn't notice that. That's really funny.
Obviously, that didn't appear on the PC version that we played, but yeah, there was a nice little touch.
That's actually pretty cool.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend people check this out. It's it's a fun little game. I mean, again, you could do worse for an afternoon.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. And interesting fact as well, like well, might not be interesting to anyone but me, but the one Dreamcast game I own is House of the Dead. I literally only own one Dreamcast game, and that's it. But I don't have a light gun for it, so kind of pointless. I don't want to play it with a controller, and the Dreamcast controller's bollocks anyway. But yeah, that is a little bit of trivia about me.
I think I have like four, and it's nothing like huge. It's like Marvel vs. Capcom, Soul Calibur, stuff like that.
They're difficult to find Dreamcast games because Dreamcast failed.
Yeah,
Well, the PlayStation 2 killed it, kind of. But yeah, you don't see them around very much, and when you do, they tend to be quite expensive.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I would definitely say if this is the kind of thing you'd be interested in, look it up on Abandonware, try it out, and then if you wanna give Sega money for something, you can get the sequel on Steam. Which, I mean, looking at the screenshots, looks like it's the same thing with some. slight graphical changes.
Yeah, I probably will look into getting that.
Yeah, I'll probably add that to my wish list. Oh, and they have a whole bunch of DLC with it too. Oh, there we go. The Typing of the Dead Shakespeare DLC.
Oh God, no.
I would be all over that.
Oh, I had to. I was forced to study Shakespeare in school, and I really did not enjoy that at all.
So I was forced like a lot of people, but I actually really enjoy Shakespeare. So it wasn't as much of a problem for me as it was for a lot of
Mm.
people. But yeah, I'm always up for some Shakespeare because I don't know if it's just because I put the effort in to understand Shakespeare more than my peers, but I really enjoy Shakespeare's humor.
Well, a lot of it is like dick and fart jokes, isn't it?
A lot of it is, but there's also a lot of there's a lot that you have to think about a little bit, and a lot of people don't want to think, so they miss some of it. And I mean, of course, when they teach Shakespeare, they want to put all these deep questions on there, and it's like, is Hamlet actually crazy? Well, he says in the play that he's not, that he's pretending, but they don't seem to recognize that. But I'm off topic. Typing that is good. I really enjoy it. I'm will probably go back and try to get through the rest of the game and then check out the sequel because it's really cool.
Yeah, and like I say, if you enjoyed House of the Dead, this is the same game.
Yeah.
It really is just with a different control method. Oh, what? Okay, I've just gone to the Steam page for Typing of the Dead Overkill. The very very first screenshot on the Steam page has two zombies. One of them has the phrase "dripping wart goo," and the other one has the phrase "sexual tyrannosaur." What
Oh, jeez.
what is going on?
Oh.
Another one has the phrase "May I eat you?" Lube, Jesus Christ.
Could
Bacon,
eat a horse.
unicorns, too many enemies, ample buxom.
Is it too late to shake hands? That's funny.
I need to get this game.
See, like the arcade cabinet looks pretty interesting too because it's actually an arcade cabinet with two QWERTY keyboards on it.
I've never seen an arcade cabinet. Obviously, I've seen the House of the Dead ones, but yeah, I've never seen an arcade cabinet.
I don't even know if the arcade cabinet was released outside of Japan.
I can imagine those keyboards will get dirty very quickly.
Oh yeah, I mean even not being played, just the dust that would accumulate in an environment like that. Yeah, but yeah, so check out Typing of the Dead if you like House of the Dead or typing. It's good. All right, so that is our zombie episode. I mean, it's a topic with a whole lot of content to be had, so we'll most likely come back eventually. Probably won't do this too often because, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of zombie games, and we've got a lot of topics.
Yeah, I mean, to say that Resident Evil is my favorite game series, I'm not massive on zombies either, which is good because Resident Evil 4 doesn't have any in it, which I'll be playing later on this month. But in terms of all the classic monsters and stuff like that, zombies are kind of like way down there for me. I'm like vampires, my favorite. I like ghosts, witches, all that stuff, but zombies are like quite low down the list. But that doesn't mean that you can't do awesome games with them.
Right. For me, unless it's what is it? Is it Return of the Living Dead?
Oh, Return of the Living Dead is fucking awesome film.
The one that's essentially a comedy movie.
Yeah, yeah. That is
Send more
that is
paramedics.
yeah, that is a brilliant film. I love that film.
Yeah, so that's about what I want out of zombies
Mm.
is, stuff like that. Otherwise, I'm just like, you know. But yeah, I think Resident Evil does Resident Evil feels better to me than most zombie games, but I think that's because it's so well designed as a game, and then that carried on to the sequels. Um, that I think that's what makes them stand out is they are so well designed and have so much thought put into them that they don't feel as generic.
Yeah, until they started getting generic, like
Until they started getting generic.
with like 6,
but like, the Spencer Mansion is I mean, and we talked about this at the time, but it is a brilliant example of game design being used to enhance the experience.
it is one of my favorite, if not my favorite area in video games. And you just, at some point in that game, you no longer need to look at the map
Yeah.
because you know exactly where this room is, like how to get to there, and etc. I've spent a lot of time in that mansion, and I love it.
And it's done so well that even if you're not really good at spatial thinking, it's set up in such a way that you will be reminded, and it's not that difficult for you to remember.
No, and plus there is like a solid map system as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think we will come back to Resident Evil because there's a lot more good stuff in that series to check out. Um, General Zombie, probably not for quite a while.
Yeah.
But that's all we have today. So until next time, thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.